Hi everybody, this is Miss S doing a instructional video for U.S. History Part B. This is for our first official lesson in Part B of the course, 1.01 Semester Introduction. If you were with us in Part A, this lesson is going to look somewhat familiar. We do talk about the reasons why we study U.S. history, the various reasons why we do so. But it's also going to give a good summary of where we left off in Part A and where we are picking up in the second part of the course. If you're a new student, this should be a pretty good introduction as to where we are starting in Point B and give you a marker as to where we're going to start our course content. In Unit 1 of Part B of the course, it's called A New Century, and the United States was approaching the 20th century, meaning the 1800s were ending and the 1900s were just beginning. American society was really growing rapidly, though. The cities were growing very quickly. More people were flocking to them to find different economic opportunities. But the country started to realize that there were societal problems, political problems, and even economic problems as well. And as the wealthy became wealthier and the poor continued to labor in a capitalist society, the wealthy had more leisure time and ways to spend their additional or spare money. But they also spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to fix those social ills and to change things in society. So much like the reform movements that happened in the earlier parts of the 1800s before the Civil War, it kind of resurfaced again, and we saw a new resurgence in business, political, social reforms of all kinds. And we even saw another resurgence in the women's rights movement. As we get into the semester introduction here, you can see where we're going to pick up. You're about to begin a journey through U.S. history that begins with prehistory. That's where we started in Part A, and ends much further into the 1900s. This part of the course is going to be talking about why we study history and why it's important to know all this information that we're focusing on. The goals for today's lesson are to define history and identify reasons for studying it, and also to become familiar with the organization and format of lessons in this course. Now, this is typically what your courses are going to look like. In the beginning, you're probably going to have some kind of a title slide or summary, just like what we went over. And you're going to have goals listed as well. So this is exactly like what your other lessons are going to look like. Then after the goals page, you're going to have a daily checklist, and this is going to tell you exactly what needs to be done in each lesson. Now the daily checklist page also will list the pages that you need to read in your textbook. There are none listed for this lesson, but you'll frequently see textbook pages listed here that you will need to do. It will also let you know if there's a quiz or a checkpoint associated with this lesson. And if you come over to the navigation bar here on the side, you'll see that checkpoints or quizzes frequently or always appear right underneath the course that they're or the lesson that they're associated with. So 101 does not have a quiz or a checkpoint, but as you see here for 102, there will be a checkpoint, and 103 there's a quiz. So getting started, let's get started by taking a look at what you'll encounter during your study of U.S. history. View this presentation and get an overview of the course. So we're going to take a look at the actual anatomy of the course itself, or a lesson, and see what is involved in what you need to do. If you click on Introduction to U.S. History, a new window will pop up here, and it will say this new window will open up and show you how to go through the actual course itself. So as we just saw, there are different portions of the course, like the checklist, which will list pages, okay, that you're supposed to read, or if there's a quiz or any online activities. Okay, this is the portion of your course that talks about the online activities. These frequently are tied to quizzes and to checkpoints. Sometimes you have to complete them to actually get credit for the checkpoint that goes with the lesson. So make sure as you're going through your work, you're paying very close attention, you're completing these online activities, and if it gives you a word when you're done with the activity, make sure you jot it down, because it's probably for the checkpoint that goes with your lesson. These Activities are always indicated by this blue underlined link on the actual pages itself that I'm pointing to with my arrow right here. There are some warm-up activities as well within the course that will give you some additional activities to work on. And there are frequently interactive slides and additional activities built into the course too. Sometimes there's a virtual field trip. They'll give you several online websites to go to, and you'll be asked to answer some questions. It basically gives you a chance to go beyond the course and find some additional information on websites that have been approved and connected to the course material that we are studying. There are also some optional activities you'll see in Beyond the Lesson. So make sure to continue to click through all your lesson slides so you can get all the information you can to help you with your textbook reading and the information you need to know for that lesson. There is a student guide available to you that will walk you through everything that you need to do, although typically I think that the online checklist or the daily checklist at the beginning of each lesson is usually sufficient in allowing you to do this, but it also gives you materials for each part of the course. So if you're looking for a reading guide or something like that, you can also get it from the student guide area. The student guide is listed on your lesson slides within the actual lesson itself. The student guide will also tell you what to read, and while you're reading in the textbook, it's always very important that you make sure to read and do something with the information that you are reading. That's why we give you reading guides. The reading guides are directly associated with the lesson that you're reading and direct you towards the key information that you need to know for a quiz or for a test. So if you're not doing these reading guides, even though they are not collected and not graded, your performance on a quiz or on a test may be very limited and not as good as it could be. These reading guides are really a crucial key to success. Please make sure that you do these. The reading guides are located in the online slides, or you can also get them by going to unit resources and then clicking on materials. Activity sheets are just like reading guides. I usually won't collect them or grade them. They are just to help you process the information from the lesson. Again, they are crucial in you succeeding in taking quizzes and tests. Most often when students are struggling with the course material, they're trying to skip this step and it really doesn't help them in the end. So make sure that you take the time to do these activity sheets and reading guides. Checkpoints are basically a quick check-in for each lesson. You'll either have a checkpoint or a quiz for most of the lessons, not all, but a checkpoint is usually part of the lesson and is sometimes connected to an activity, as I stated earlier. So you always want to make sure you complete your online activities and check to see if there is a word associated with the checkpoint. For this particular one, as you can see in the question, it's asking you to put the activity word associated with it in the blank to get credit. Graded assignments are also sometimes seen in the course. These graded assignments, however, I do not want you guys to do. I will create my own version of these graded assignments, these written assignments in the course. So please don't do these. When you get to graded assignments in the lessons, ignore those and go to Doc Sharing up here to access any written assignments that I have you doing. Quizzes and tests are available within the lesson plans, within the lesson path itself on the blue navigation bar, as you can see here to the side. Okay. The rest of this lesson is going to be going over reasons why we study history, and U.S. history is the study of how America has changed over time, just as general history is the study of how mankind and the world has changed over time. This is specifically about the U.S. And the remaining slides are going to give you some different ideas as to why people think history is important to know. Like, history shows us what it means to be human. It improves our judgment so that we can learn from the past and make decisions with an understanding of where we've been and what we've done. History provides instructive examples, and history makes us better thinkers. So lots of different reasons why to study history. History even supports common cultural understandings and dialogue between different people and their different backgrounds. History satisfies a need for identity and for both individuals and for nations as a whole. So it identifies us as people and specifically as Americans. And history also, for many of us, gives us pleasure. A lot of people really enjoy digging into history and learning about where they come from or where other people have come from and what they've experienced. This is basically a summary slide of those reasons for studying history that were listed on the previous slides. Once you get to the end of the lesson here, you'll see the U.S. History Concept Map. You can click through this to get an idea of where the course goes and how it is completed and what is involved in the course. So you can click on it and see how it develops, what the different topics are by either theme or by chronological periods. Okay, so if you would like to look at what we're going to be talking about in Part B of the course, that is a great way to get an overview of what we're going to be learning about. And that's it for Lesson 1.01. Thanks for your time, and please contact me with any questions.